everyone, pleasure to be with you once again, and welcome to our YouTube channel, Mito Jesuit AOR. And in this episode, the Jesuits of Eastern African Province would love to present to you the formation in Jesuit religious life and apostolic competence. Join us in this episode. Welcome.
She'll also stand by us. Be with us, Mary, along the way. Guide every step we take. Lead us to Jesus, your loving Son. Come with us, Mary, help us, O star of the ocean. Be with us in our strength.
Greetings of peace. My name is Vincent Impoza, a Jesuit from Eastern Africa Province, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Sudan, and South Sudan. But I'm originally from Uganda, currently at Alupe Jesuit University, Harare, Zimbabwe. And the question today is, why philosophy for priesthood? I believe a strong philosophical education is essential to anyone training to become a priest. As we remember, the church fathers used philosophy when appropriate to help others encounter the gospel. All men in formation must do likewise, must learn philosophy, especially now when the faith looks to be misunderstood. But it is also important to stress that God ultimately speaks to the heart and not merely the intellect, because the heart is the core of the person. But enabling an intimate encounter with God includes a vigorous cultivation of the intellect. So philosophy aims to make all men in formation philosophical, if I can say, to have a sense of questions, how questions can be tweaked, and have a strategic distinction and the definitions clearly in their mind, to be able to respond with philosophical understanding to questions that arise. Many of the issues that people bring to priests today are simply human problems, not exclusively theological or religious issues. So philosophy equips men in formation, later priests, with a certain vocabulary and intellectual abilities. It covers the most important questions in life. For example, what is right and wrong? What is justice? What is the purpose of life? Or what's the purpose of my being? Does God exist? These are critical questions, so you need a critical mind to answer such questions. Questions that are fundamental to our existence. I may sound abstract, but that is what it is. Philosophy helps in homiletics and the basic understanding of faith. We know faith is intelligible to the point of ineffability, and philosophy discovers and explores the ineffability as such. So philosophy has a place in preparation for study of theology, helping us see through things more clearly in the glass. So philosophy prepares all men in formation, later priests, who can explain the faith as inherently reasonable, and the philosophy prevents the perception that faith falls under sentimentality and brutal command from God. It is not. It is indeed a gift from God. Faith is a gift from God, so to be able to explain that. Nevertheless, only thoughtful faith that points to the mystery of God is capable of converting people into priesthood. So dear friends and companions, I believe with that philosophy is still relevant and is important to everyone trying to be a priest, and then the laity if they wish to have a critical mind on how to deal with the day-to-day issues. Thank you very much.
Dear viewer, welcome to the Vocations Promotion Office of the Society of Jesus. And today I'm joined by Edwin Wesonga. I will give him the honor to introduce himself. Who is Edwin Wesonga?
Edwin Wesonga is a Jesuit scholastic born and bred in the western part of Kenya. I studied primary education in the western part of Kenya, secondary education at St. Peter's Seminary, and then I went to Kenyatta University. Afterwards, immediately after graduation, I joined the Jesuits. That is the simple Wesonga Edwin.
How did you know the Jesuits, and after you joined the Jesuits, where did you go?
How I knew the Jesuits? I met the Jesuits at the university because at the university I was the liturgical secretary at the Catholic chaplaincy, and therefore the liturgical secretary was in charge of organizing retreats for the students, and therefore I would meet many of the Jesuits and invite them to organize, or rather to lead us during the retreats. And that's what attracted me most towards the Jesuits, their simplicity and the ability to bring souls closer to God. I had never met such kind of men who would actually pull souls towards God in such a simple and beautiful way.
I presume after joining the Jesuits, you immediately went to the Novitiate. Could you tell
Yes.
us where you did your Novitiate and briefly your Novitiate experience?
I did my novitiate in Zambia. As you know, most of the scholastics from Eastern African province, they do it in Tanzania. But I was sent to Zambia to do my novitiate. That was in 2017. And then I finished my novitiate in 2019. In Zambia, the experience was very beautiful. First of all, the most beautiful experience that I had, or rather, I actually say the best 30 days of my life was the 30 days retreat, because the 30 days retreat changed the Edwin of the world to Edwin that the society needs. Because the novice master used to say that when you join the society, you have to leave the character of the world and join the character of the church, or rather the character of the society. And that's what the spiritual exercises did. They removed the Edwin that was of the world and formed him to become the Edwin of the society, or rather a person who could be able to serve the society. And then the second, or rather other experiments were, I worked in a prison in Zambia, that's for women and men and also children. I also worked in a children's home which was run by the sisters for almost 4 months. I also worked in a hospital. The hospital was it was a very interesting experience because it was, I worked in all the departments, from women to men, then from outpatient, I went to work in the mortuary, then I also worked in a delivery. So I experienced how a child is born, is brought to the world, and then the other end, a person dies and is taken to the mortuary. So that was another experience that reminded me of the spiritual exercise, because we were born with a mission and you are given means that will lead you to the end. And that was so much, I experienced that during the experiment. Yes.
What a touching and really inspiring journey in the novitiate. Now, according to our Jesuit formation, after the novitiate, you make your first and simple but perpetual vows.
Yes.
And thereafter you head for studies. Could you shed more light on that part after your first vows? Where did you go next?
After my first vows, actually, before I took vows, just a simple cliche. There's I read a book, a spiritual book about the Jesuits in China, and during that spiritual conversation, I shared with my novice master, and I asked him, do you have Jesuits in China? What do they do? And I think they are facing a lot of trouble, is it? And how does it feel like for a foreigner to work in China? But behind my mind, I'd never had an experience, or rather, I never dreamed of working in China, or rather in Taiwan, because I knew I don't have that ability to even learn Chinese or even to go and serve the Chinese people. So I would just ask him out of curiosity, or rather, just to help me pray, to give me courage to serve those who are most in need. But I was never asking for the grace to go and work in China. So after I took vows, after we talked to the father that evening, he received an email from the provincial that is missioning me to China. Because I never requested to be sent to China. So it was, even the novice master was surprised. He asked me, have you been talking to the provincial about China? I told him, no, actually it was just, I asked it because it appeared in my prayer. So that's how I was missioned to China, to be specific, I was missioned to go to Taiwan to learn the language and see what God has in the future. So immediately after the vows, I prepared the visa and went to Taiwan.
So while in Taiwan, were you studying specifically the language, or there are other studies that you are pursuing there, and for how long were you in Taiwan?
Specifically, I was there just for the language. After 2 years, because should be 3 months ago, I did the international Chinese examinations. They have level 1 up to level 6, and therefore the level 6 is the highest level. I did up to level 5 of the international Chinese examinations, and therefore, but for you to do studies in Taiwan or in Chinese, you need up to level 3 or 4. But I already had up to level 5, so I asked my provincial to give me a chance to do philosophy in Chinese. So he said that to use Chinese in philosophy, and then automatically you'll have to do again theology. You use Chinese in theology. That is, you'll have 10 years in the same country. It will not be so much helpful. It's good to change a place, to go somewhere else, use English to study philosophy, and then if you still wish to use Chinese in theology, you can do that. Then another reason he gave me is that was the Chinese provincial. The Chinese provincial also told me that I learned the contemporary, or rather the modern Chinese. And if you want to do Chinese philosophy, you need traditional Chinese, very traditional. And then he said you will need another 6 months to learn traditional Chinese for you to enroll into Chinese program. So our superiors, we believe that our superior suggestions on missioning are missionings from God. So I accepted his in Chinese they say Yijian. Yijian is an idea, or rather a suggestion. So I accepted it as the will of God, and I'm now preparing for the next stage of philosophy. But I only went there for language. I only finished the language.
What next?
What next is to go to Philippines to use English to study philosophy, but I'll be staying with the Chinese scholastics.
Well, last but not least, you encourage very many young men who are viewing this program who would like to join the Society of Jesus and perhaps do their novitiate in Zambia, and who knows, maybe also pursue Chinese language in Taiwan?
Well, it depends on what the Spirit will lead you, but what I can tell everyone, or rather the young scholastics who love to join the society, is that being open in spirit, letting the Spirit move you, and of course the Spirit moves in our superiors, letting the superiors decide for you, and following the Spirit with love is the most beautiful thing. It makes you free. And to me, going to China and learning Chinese, to me, at first it was a lot of fear, but to me, I think it's one of the beautiful experiences that I've ever had in my life. It exposed me, it made me grow, it made me mature, it made me see the outward world, it made me see how much as Africans we need to do to change our own African countries to get to those levels. So to me, it was a very beautiful experience, and as long as you become free and open, the Spirit will lead you to where God wants you to be.
Lastly, Edwin, kabla sijakuruhusu uondoke, kwamba umesoma Kichina na sasa hivi tunazungumza au wengi wa vijana wanatutazama ambao wangependa kujiunga na shirika hili la Majesuiti. Unazungumza Kichina, hebu kudhibitisha tu kwamba umekuwa China kwa zaidi ya mwaka mmoja. Hebu sema Kichina kidogo, labda zungumza na hawa vijana kwamba shirika la Yesu ni nzuri na waweze kujiunga nalo kwa Kichina.
Well, probably I'll use Chinese to introduce myself.
Exactly.
我是为的的为，到的，天空的云，为的云，或是可以说微小过的微，大过的，天空的云，这就是我的名字。然后我就是1993出生，然后我是在Kenya土生土长，然后我大学毕业以后我就加入耶稣会。所以到现在我已经有3年、4年在Kenya在耶稣会内，是他们培养我，但是现在我在准备，我刚刚结束念国语或是他的中文，然后念完以后，我现在在准备去菲律宾念大学。我希望这个过程会很顺利，我希望天主会一直培养我。我希望我跟我的兄弟们会在一起永远离不开。谢谢你大家。
Thank you very much, Edwin. My name is Vincent Opio. I encourage you viewer to come and join the Society of Jesus. If you like to speak Chinese, I would like also, but Edwin, finish off this program again once more with the Chinese.
谢谢。
That's a Dutch to mean goodbye.
谢谢 means thank you. Goodbye 是拜拜。
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Miito Jesuit AOR. Don't forget to subscribe.
When we are faced with